So you've decided that this is the year you're going to enter your first hard enduro race. You've been watching the videos, reading the forums, looking at the Instaface, and you've decided that this is it. You've been riding every weekend, jumping over every log and rock that comes in your path. And you've thought, yeah, I'll give this a shot, it looks like fun. Getting ready for your first race can be a pretty daunting thing. Here are some tips and tricks that I wish I knew before my first race. When you arrive at the racetrack, after signing in and signing the waiver form, the next thing you'll need to do is get your bike scrutineered. We're just going to check the tension of the spokes to make sure there's none loose, and also to do a visual check and make sure there's none broken. So to do this check, we just get our tool and we just bounce it off each of the spokes, and we should get a nice ping sound off each spoke. And the same check is carried out on the other side of the wheel too. And a quick example of what a bad spoke sounds like, or a spoke that's not tensioned enough. They'll be checking to make sure the disc isn't worn undersize, and also to make sure there's no cracks on the disc from impact. They're just going to want to check the pads to make sure you've got enough material left on the pads. The scrutineers are also going to check the wheel bearings on your bike. To check your own wheel bearings before scrutineering, you can simply grab the top of the wheel and you're going to try and wiggle the top of the wheel backwards and forwards. These bearings are brand new, but if your bearings are worn a little bit, you'll notice a slight knocking sound when you try and move the wheel forwards and backwards. The scrutineers do allow for a little bit of play, but if there's too much play, they're going to send you back to the pits to replace your wheel bearings. The next check is going to be your headstand bearings. To check this, sit on the bike, hold the front brake in firmly, and then rock the bike backwards and forwards. If there's any play in the headstand bearings, when the bike rocks backwards and forwards, there's going to be a knocking sound coming from the front here. The headstand bearings are supposed to be snug, so the scrutineers are pretty picky on this, and if there's any slop in there at all, they're going to send you back to the pits to tighten it up. Moving to the back of the bike, and all they're checking for here is to make sure that your chain is within the right tension specs, the chain isn't completely flogged out, and same goes for your front and rear sprockets. If either your chain or your sprockets have extreme wear or damage on them, there is a chance that the scrutineers are going to send you back to replace those items. And lastly, the scrutineers will do a quick once over of your bike to check some basic things like, is the gear lever tight? Are the pegs on okay? Are they snapped or damaged with any sharp edges? And they're also going to check over the plastics too to make sure there's nothing hanging off the bike or flopping around that could cause an injury. They're also going to check for oil leaks, such as fork seals or crankcase leaks. And last but not least is the noise test. They are pretty lenient as far as noise goes, but you're probably not going to win any friends if you've got a full motocross race pipe on. The scrutineers are also going to want to check your motorbike helmet to make sure that it's not damaged. They'll be checking for any cracks, dints, or signs of large impacts. And they're also going to check the date stamp inside the helmet to make sure it's no more than 10 years old. Do I need the whiz-bang bash plate and pipe guard all in one? Well, the short answer to that is no. But if you're fairly new to the harder riding and you think there's a chance that you may damage your pipe during a race, it is going to pay to have a bit of protection. I've seen a couple of times guys have big crashes or come down on top of rocks and completely crush their pipe or damage the flange on the side of the head, and that ends their race weekend. Do you need bark busters on your bike? Technically, no, but if you crash a lot and don't have bark busters, bring plenty of spare levers. Will my 5-year-old nobbies be okay to run in the hard enduro race? Short answer is yes. If they hold air, they'll be fine. I buy a new set of tyres at the start of the racing season, and that new set of tyres will last me for the whole season. Do I need the triple green stripe Jarvis Slayer gummy tyre for my first race? The answer to that is pretty easy. No, you don't. There's nothing wrong with sticking to a standard medium compound off-road tyre. I ran ultra heavy duty tubes in my old KTM 200 for about 10 years, and I never had a puncture in those. I've been running tubeless for the last 2 years. Again, I've never had any issues or any punches with that. Moose, that's on my to-do list. There are plenty of other videos on YouTube covering the differences, the pros and the cons of each system, so I encourage you to have a bit of a browse and make your own decision on that. These days I use a Zaxpeed Comfree backpack, which has got a 3-litre bladder inside. It's got enough room for my little toolkit, cable ties, some duct tape and a spark plug. And it's also got another little pouch here which has got enough room for some snacks. I normally pack 2 pairs of gloves just in case the weather's bad, or if I need to put on a dry set of gloves halfway through the race. 3 or 4 pairs of socks, 1 pair of socks on the day the prologue is run, another pair for race day, and then a spare set knee braces, full coverage Alpine Star body armour, and 2 pairs of pants. If the weather's bad and you can't get your riding gear cleaned and dried overnight, then having another set of riding gear on hand is going to make the riding a lot more enjoyable. I've got 2 bags that I always take riding, and they've got various spare parts and tools in them. WD-40, some brake clean or carby clean, chain lube, spare spark plug, some needed steel repair putty, araldite, vice grips, some tyre changing tools, cable ties of course, duct tape, screwdriver or a screwdriver set. Some racers use the MyLapse transponders. You can probably buy them off the internet for 20 or 30 bucks. Racing numbers. If you've registered for the race and this is your first time, you probably have no idea about how the numbering system works. I normally go to Bunnings, a motorbike shop, or even marine shops and buy 2 or 3 of each number in a set. That way when I get to the race, if I haven't got the number that I wanted, at least I've got the stickers there to put on the correct number so the officials know who I am. I've got my normal KTM toolkit, which will be my backpack during the race, and of course a bike pump for pumping up the tyres. Bring along any lubricants that you may need. If you're running a 2-stroke, bring enough premix oil to get you through the weekend. A lot of these races are a long way out of town, so I always take a 20-litre jerry can of fresh 98 octane fuel with me. You're probably only going to use 10 to 12 litres of fuel, so you've got a little bit extra left over just in case. Sticking to the theme of some races being a long way out of town, if your bike uses any strange tools like Torx bits, anything that may be damaged over the weekend, bring yourself some spares, as there's not always access to spare parts at the racetrack, and sometimes it can be 2 or 3 hours drive just to get to the nearest bike shop for spare parts. I also bring a bottle of engine coolant, as well as air filter oil and a spare air filter. I'm running the tubeless system in my bike. I always keep a spare ultra heavy duty tube in my van. So if I do get stuck and I can't get parts for my tubeless system, if I have to, I can fit an ultra heavy duty tube, throw a rim lock in and get back out there.